Hi Year 9, today we're going to have a look, this is our last lesson on A Wife in London, and we're going to have a look at doing some essay writing on the poem, but I'm only going to ask you to write one paragraph. The reason I'm asking you to do this is for two reasons. First, it's obviously really important because that's sort of the way you're going to show off your knowledge of this poem at the end of the day, will be by writing an essay on it. And secondly, because as you'll know now from your revision packs, you will be asked at some point in September or October to write an essay response to one of the poems. So I want to give you a chance to have some practice, and I also want to give you a chance to get some feedback on your essay writing skills. So just to stress, you'll only be writing a paragraph, you won't be writing an entire essay. Okay, so this is going to be our question. How does Hardy present the theme of war and a wife in London? So what I'd like you to do is write that as your title, and make sure it's underlined for me, and then we'll get started. Okay, before I start on the key skills, I just want to stress, I'm pretty like 99% sure that you have done essays already with Miss Hughes on the poems. So what I wanted to say was, if Miss and I will approach essay writing slightly differently, just the way we've sort of developed separately over the years as we've been teaching. One method won't, if there are differences in our methods, don't feel like one's right and one's wrong. That's not the case at all. They'll both be right. So if you don't like the way I'm going to tell you to structure this paragraph and you would prefer to do it the way Miss Hughes has taught you to do it, if it is different, please feel free. Don't feel like you're tied into doing it this way. That's absolutely fine. At the end of the day, the same skills will be there, and however you put them together will still get you marks, so don't worry. All right. So you don't need to write down these key skills, but you can if you want to, because it might be nice to have a kind of list of what you need to be covering really in each paragraph of your essay. Okay, so the first one is that you need to have really precise supportive quotations. So you need to be making sure that you're selecting evidence to support what you're saying, and ideally that evidence will be embedded. What that means is that you're not having separate sentences that just say, this is proven in the quotation, beep, full stop. Your quotation should be part of a bigger sentence in which you are pinning down an inference, which is skill number 2. So you need to be pinning down what these quotations that you've selected suggest about war, because that's our question. Okay, so make sure you do focus on war. As you know from last lesson, we've gone through 4 key themes to this poem, and you've already got a lot of notes on what kind of things we could discuss for how Hardy presents war. So obviously you can use them today to help you, but make sure you do focus on war. Please don't be selecting any quotations about love or loss, etc. Okay? Although I suppose loss links to war in some way. Right, so once you've pinned down what the quotations suggest, you are going to then do word level analysis, WLA, where you pick apart the impact of specific words. Okay, it's important that you do this because this is where you're starting to explore the writer's choices. Once you've done that, you're then going to cross-reference, ideally. So that is when you link this analysis to another quotation in the poem, and that can help you get into higher bands. Okay, now I know we're still in year 9, but if you just wanted to kind of be motivated to do it, this is more of a grade 7 skill if you can link one quotation to another. I did talk about this as well in the video yesterday, didn't I? So okay, once you've done that, you're then going to finalize your analysis, your paragraph, by linking to Hardy's intentions and purposes, which you already have in your books because we did that a couple of weeks ago now, and also his context. Now, the way I like to look at context is it's the why. So why, what was happening in Hardy's time? What kind of writer is Hardy? You know, to make him write this poem the way he has, to make him present war the way he has in this poem. Okay, what was it about the Boer War in itself, etc. So anywhere where you can kind of link to what was going on at the time will get you context marks, and you don't need to wait till the end. You might be able to say, you know, when you're talking about the telegram, you know, you might be able to say there that, you know, that was the only method of communication, and that would get you context marks. So it's all about just threading them in when it's relevant, your understanding of the time period, and you'll get marks for it then. I was going to say something else. I can't remember. Very sad. Um, one thing I would also add is about keeping an open tone. So making sure you're avoiding words like means or tells us or shows. Try to use more open vocabulary like perhaps, suggests, highlights, implies. And that will also help you to develop a really literary voice, which is what we'd love you to have. And while I've said that, it's not come back to me, so I'm going to move on and hope I remember later on. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through with you what those skills look like. So how you actually, what does that mean? At the moment, it's just an abstract list, isn't it, of different skills. So I'm gonna model for you what this would look like, and I want you to write this down because this is going to formulate the first paragraph of what will become a 2-paragraph essay. Okay, now I'm not writing it as a paragraph just yet because I want you to be able to label it really effectively. So the first line is this, and I would like you to write this out for me now. So in stanza 1, Hardy presents war as having a negative impact on the city of London. Okay, so that's my my line of argument. This is my topic sentence that's starting my paragraph off. It's going to outline one of the ways that he presents war. So can you label that first sentence in your book, please, with what's in that box? Because that's the skill that I'm using to write my opening sentence. Okay, so pause now so you can do that. Okay, so once I've done that, I'm then going to go on to say, in the phrase tawny vapour, Hardy suggests that a wispy fog is hanging over the city. Okay, so can you see, oh, that was a very powerful stuff. Can you see here that this quotation is embedded? I've not written in, this is shown in the phrase tawny vapour full stop. Yeah, I've put the quotation inside a sentence, so it's embedded. We did do this before lockdown, so hoping you can remember. And either side, we've got sort of an introduction to the quotation, and then we've got a very precise inference from tawny vapour to a wispy fog. Okay. Now, the problem with what I've written there, though, is that it's not really focused on war, is it? How does this really suggest that war is having a negative impact in the city? And that's where my next sentence comes in. So make sure you've got that one down. Pause. So the word tawny highlights that the vapour is both unattractive and unnatural in colour. It's very, if you remember, it's a brownish reddish colour. That's unnatural colour to be hanging around in the air of a city, isn't it? So that perhaps indicating that war itself is both of these things. So Hardy's perhaps suggesting here that if we've got a tawny vapour hanging in the air during war, that's what war is. It's a tawny vapour. It's unattractive and it's unnatural, and we shouldn't be fighting. So the skill I'm using there is word level analysis. I'm commenting on a specific word, but I'm also linking to the question as well. Okay, pause there to get that down. Okay, cross-referencing. This is a higher level skill, so don't worry too much if you don't manage to do this today. It's very hard in remote learning to get the higher skills. So this is developed further by the phrase city lanes have uprolled, which suggests that the government, represented by the city, it should be another comma there, are responsible for this unnatural pollution. So even though it's only one skill, it's cross-referencing. If you have a look at how I've structured that sentence, I've actually got in there a cross-reference. This is developed further by, so I'm linking to another quotation. I've got my embedded quotation. I've got my inference that the government are responsible for this unnatural pollution. So actually, I've kind of embedded, I've sort of still got my precise quotation, inference, and quotation all in the same, and cross-referencing all in the same sentence. So this is a bit trickier, but if you can make links between quotations, then you will get better marks. Okay, pause there to get that down. And then finally, this is reminding me what I was going to say. I'll tell you in a minute. Football. I'm just saying football to remind myself. So finally, we're going to use this last skill, which is linking to Hardy's purpose and linking to context. So through both of these quotations, Hardy suggests not only that war is polluting the entire city, it's also the responsibility of those in charge. This reflects Hardy's, so that's his purpose, that's what he kind of wanted to highlight to his readers. And this reflects Hardy's reluctance to support the Boer War and his criticism of it. Okay, so I've thought about the why. Why has he presented war as having such a negative impact on the city? Because he was so against it. Yeah. So you might want to go back in your books to revise over the contextual factors that we looked at. And one of the key skills with this is being able to make links between Hardy's choices and those contextual factors. What was going on at the time? What was the war like, etc. Okay. So what I was going to say about football was I always see this as being a bit like a football game. A football team and how a football team works together. So you start off with the goalkeeper kicking the ball out, all right, and that's your line of argument. You're just kicking it off. You're getting the ball down. You're kind of summarising what you can see about how he presents war. Then I always link the quotations to like your defenders because you need your quotation defence. If you've not got support at the back, then you're going to let in just as many goals as you score. So that's your defence. All right, you can't get anywhere without your quotations. Your word level analysis and your cross-referencing is all about your passes. So you're building up play. Obviously, Liverpool are now amazing and have won the league. But I don't know, 5-6 years ago, we were very famous for playing a long ball. Somebody just kicking the ball down and hoping for the best. And it wasn't very imaginative play. So the more passes you have in the build up to a goal, the more impressive the football can often be. Apart from that time when Alonso scored from the halfway line and it was amazing. But I digress. The point is that the more passes you have, the better the build up, the stronger your argument. So by doing your word level analysis, stopping and exploring the field, exploring the impact of specific passes, specific words, you're going to pick up more marks. By cross-referencing, passing to another quotation, what else can you find? What else can I find? And you don't just have to do that once, you could do that more than once. That's going to build up your play, that's going to make you a stronger player. And then finally, you do all of that. That's amazing, but if you don't then link back to the purpose and the context, then you've not scored your goal, and that's really frustrating. Also, similar to watching Liverpool play 5-6 years ago. So you've got to finish off, you've got to score that goal, and if you don't link back, if you don't kind of link to why Hardy did all of this, then you're letting yourself down at the last second, because after all that build-up, you've not really finalised or finished answering the question. Okay? So hopefully that gives you an idea of kind of how all this works, and it might help you to remember it. If you hate football, then, maybe not. Okay, so obviously in an exam or in your essays, you're not going to write it like this. You're not going to have separate sentences on different lines with labels in between each one. It would look something like this. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to make you write it out again like this. That's fine. But I just wanted to show you what it would look like. So you would just put it all together in one paragraph, and that would be one line of argument. And obviously this one is just based on stanza 1. What I've put in red are the key phrases that you can borrow for your own paragraph. So obviously, you can start your paragraph by saying in stanza whatever, Hardy presents war, bleep, bleep, bleep. In the phrase bleep, Hardy suggests bleep. So those phrases you can use yourself, and I'll show you an easier version of that now. Okay. So what I would like you to do for the rest of today's lesson then is I would like you to have a go at writing your own analysis paragraph. So exactly like I've done there, as well as you can. If you miss key skills out, please don't worry. This is just about you having a go and giving me an idea of where your skills are up to, so I'd properly prepare you for September. All of these literature skills as well, you will be building on throughout the whole of year 10. So don't feel like this is certainly not lessons to just count down the time to the summer holidays. These are really important skills. So have a go, see where you're up to, and that'll sort of give me an idea of what I can help you with in the next 2 weeks. So you're going to write your own paragraph for either how war is presented in stanza 2 when she receives the news about her husband, or how war is presented in stanza 4 where we learn about the what's in the content of the husband's letter. Do you know what? I'll also give you the option of stanza 3, because we've got that really interesting line in stanza 3, haven't we, about his hand whom the worm now knows. So you can do any of the other 3 stanzas. Okay. Now, if you need it, you can structure your paragraph by basically copying out what I've written here and filling in the gaps where I've done the ellipsis. So in stanza 3, Hardy presents war as bleep, whatever you want to say. In the phrase quotation, he implies bleep inference. Okay, so you can literally copy that out and fill in the blanks, or you can just write it in your own style. You might want to draw on the way you were taught to do it by Miss Hughes. Anything at all, as long as you have a go. That's all I'm asking you for. And could you please, if you type them, can you just email them to me as an attachment? Or if not, can you take a picture for me and again, email it as an attachment. And that will help me to collate them all together and plan a feedback lesson for you. Okay. Again, if you have any questions today, please let me know and show my homework or email. But I am teaching year 12 this afternoon, so I might be a little bit delayed in getting back to you. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy this is like a nice chance for you to really apply what we've been doing since half term on Away from London. And like I say, this will be our last lesson on it. So take the time to go back over the poem and really think about it again. It'll help it to stick in your brains. Okay, take care, year 9, and I will speak to you on Thursday.